SpaceX has had a lot of activity recently, and it's a very good time for us to do an update on SpaceX's activity. Several new projects are being proposed or undertaken by SpaceX, and we're going to review them today, as well as their ongoing Moon, Mars, and Starlink internet programs. Welcome to Reaching for the Moon, hosted by me, Ed Grace. 18 months ago, NASA awarded three entities, Blue Origin, Dynetics, and SpaceX, initial design contracts for each to develop a version of the human landing system which would be used on the Artemis moon landing program. 3 months ago, NASA awarded SpaceX a $2.9 billion contract for their design and to proceed with building a human landing system to be used on Artemis. Months ago, Blue Origin and Dynetics individually protested NASA's award to SpaceX for the human landing system that was going to be used on Artemis. The GAO, Government Accountability Office, completed a 90-day review and denied both protests filed by Blue Origin and Dynetics, concluding that NASA had not violated any bid requirements or stipulations. Thus, SpaceX is now able to commence work once again on the Artemis human landing system moon landing contract. As time has gone by, there's also been some clarity brought to the initial contract that NASA issued. SpaceX's award for demonstration missions, which would include one unmanned mission and followed by a single crewed mission to the surface of the moon. In the meantime, NASA included an attachment in the official offering for the vendors to bid on a future reusable HLS system for Artemis. Therefore, both Blue Origin and Dynetics are eligible to submit proposals or bids for the reusable human landing system, which is going to be the major portion of the ultimate human landing system moon landing contract. Both companies have indicated they will proceed with their proposal for the Artemis reusable human landing system moon landers, as I'm sure SpaceX will also. In the meantime, it's no surprise that SpaceX again is up to something new. SpaceX has been self-funding the development of its Starship booster and is now completing a prototype of the largest rocket booster ever built and testing it on the launch pad. This is the first true super heavy booster prototype for Starship, which is a fully reusable two-stage to orbit super heavy lift launch vehicle that eventually aims to carry passengers to the moon and eventually Mars. Not surprisingly, the super heavy Starship rocket booster is also very heavy. It's expected to weigh 6 times more than a fully fueled Falcon 9 rocket. As designed, the super heavy Starship will have 32 Raptor engines attached. So what exactly is Starship? In short, it's a fully reusable transport system that can carry up to 100 passengers to planetary bodies like the Moon and Mars. Starship will be larger than any other rocket developed and will have over twice the thrust of NASA's Saturn V rocket, which was used to launch Apollo spacecraft to the Moon. The Atlas V is still the most powerful rocket successfully flown yet. Someday soon, we may say that the SLS is the most powerful rocket ever flown. So far, more than $20 billion has been spent on the SLS, and none have yet been launched. SpaceX recently announced a new contract for a new mission with NASA. SpaceX is going to transport the Europa Clipper Spacecraft to Jupiter's Europa moon using the Falcon Heavy rocket. Originally, the Europa Clipper was contracted to be launched using the SLS, Space Launch System. However, because of production delays of the SLS, NASA has awarded a revised contract for Europa Clipper to SpaceX. This was a huge win for SpaceX. The Europa Clipper's launch is now scheduled for October 2024. SpaceX has made great progress on its Internet Starlink project. There are now more than 1,700 satellites in orbit. Unbelievable. SpaceX has lowered the altitude of the low orbit satellites in half. This reduces the signal latency and makes for better response time for the internet users. SpaceX also now has more than 90,000 users of Starlink in various locations on Earth. Finally, SpaceX recently suggested that the Starship spacecraft could be turned into a new giant telescope with a higher resolution than the Hubble Telescope. Recently, the Hubble Telescope has had operating issues, mainly due to its age. As of now, many factors for using Starship as a telescope are still uncertain. It's not known if Starship, for example, can successfully launch and re-enter orbit, much less stay in space as a stable platform like NASA's Hubble can. The sheer size of the Starship telescope would be larger than Hubble, but still smaller than the Herschel Space Observatory or the James Webb Space Telescope, which is scheduled to be launched later this year by the European Space Agency. However, once Elon Musk gets committed to a project, he usually succeeds. So we will follow this project very closely. Well, that brings us to the end of our SpaceX update today. I hope you liked the new projects that we discussed. And if you enjoyed the video, give us a like. Hit the subscribe and notification buttons to be notified every time Reaching for the Moon posts a new video. Thank you for watching. Remember always, failure is not an option. Bye.